Welcome to the spaceship bunker basement.
Hey, this is Milz from America, and I am back with another tutorial. This one is on Octave. So basically, I'm going to show you how most people, they would start with one note, sometimes put it with another note, and sometimes even with a third note. So it's going to be a really cool thing to see two notes at a time, and sometimes three notes. Your principal note, -10 and -20, and you're like, -10, -20, what's that? Is that like pitch bend or something from like an MB14 tutorial? Maybe. You gotta stay tuned and find out. So we are on our Octave tutorial. I'm so excited. All right, so basically for the most of this tutorial, we're going to be talking about how to use it on the IFX side, not so much on the TFX side. So most of this, I'm going to start this lesson off IFX, and then I'm going to switch routines over, and I'll show you the one that I actually use TFX on, because honestly, I don't know too many routines in which Octave is used on the TFX. So let's get started on the IFX. So as you see here, Octave, Octave. So basically, if you're in multi-effects, because I would highly recommend you do that, as always, most of my tutorials, I show you how to go over here, input multi, track effects multi. Yeah, that is a shortcut, but that's not super relevant. So what is if you have it on A, and you should memorize that. Be like multi octave A, boom. And I would highly recommend that you memorize the C button with the octave. So A and C. Hey, I want to use octave. It's at the beginning before I start layering a million other things. A and C. Boom. Like that. Like this. On and off, on and off. I would use piano fingers 2 and 4. Okay? And now I'm going to show you why. So your C is your reverb, and I would purposely put it a little bit higher, maybe not 3, maybe you want more like 2 or 2.5, and I do that, the E level and the D level maximum. Now, with this, if you want to do, instead of doing it manually with a small one like that, if you watched MB14's recent tutorial, he taught you that you can do the E level from the big knob, like this. See? Look, all the way back. So for me, I would use what he called the cathedral method of reverb, which is more towards 80 to 100, whereas like a small room would be like around here, like 30 or 50. So keep that right there. Again, as I always say in every tutorial, if you have the time, write it. If not, just exit, boom, and move on to your layering. So I'm going to show you the different types of octave. When you hit it, use the right arrow. You'll see this. Now, what does that mean? That means you have 3 choices. -10 CT. Now, if you're familiar with pitch bend, you'll see the CT, and you'll see the 10, 20s, 30s, and 40s, right? So minus means that you're going 1 octave lower. So right now, but instead of pitch bend where it drops it down, it takes two or more at the same time. So now you're going to hear and also together. Do that again. Now, if you go here, it's how much of that lower one you want. And this is where you can use the big knob for it, like this, is the octave level. This means it's how loudly do you want that lower octave to go. And here's the problem. If you have it at 100, it's going to typically sound more muddy. So if you're thinking like a producer, if you're going, which is honestly more towards the low end, then if you go lower, do you hear how it sounds a little too muddy? So I might not want to do that. So instead of doing it this way, the shortcut would be to use this. See how much quicker you got to that. I would recommend going about maybe 25. See how that lower octave isn't in your face? So when you're building a texture, you want your top one to be the biggest, and then the octave is like the little bit. You don't want it to be like I did it before, where this is your top and this is your bottom. You don't want that. Okay, so that's how you do 1 octave lower. If you want to do 2 octaves, that would be -10. So -10 is 1 octave below. That's 2 octaves below. So you see how I got even lower. Now, that's one choice. That's one choice. You can do both of them. So this way, you are going to literally sound 3 notes at the same time. So, those 3 at the same time. And that's a cool thing that you can do if you want. You can okay. Now, if you're keep in mind, if you're gonna mess with the 20s, you want to be able to either hum. You want to hum and be good in falsetto. So if you're then that could pass. Now, so that's just the A button. Now, the C button for reverb. All right. So in my saw routine, so do you see how that sounded kind of creepy? If you wanted to, this is a shout out to Guuru. Your B, if you go all the way there, you should memorize how B on the maximum of this to the right is chorus. So just a quick aside, as what MB14 taught all of us, you should memorize that your A all the way there is slicer, so you can think to just go up. So if you remember from MB14's tutorial, you should memorize that these 3, how they go all the way to the right and what they are, okay? So if I do letter A all the way there and up a few, all the way to the right and up a few, that's your octave. If you want to do chorus, shout out to Guuru, all the way to the right, boom, you're there. And also conveniently, coincidentally for C, all the way there. You now have your octave, your chorus, and your reverb. No, and I'll just write that. Okay, so that's all I have to say for the IFX. So I've come to a routine where I actually use the octave on the TFX side, which I said at the beginning of this video is rare or uncommon. So this is kind of pre-recorded, so bear with me. Okay. you can hear it makes it more full. Do you hear the difference? That's where it's more soprano. It kind of brings it down to like a low mid or a true mid. And you can you can tremolo slicer like a lot of people do. All right, so to wrap this video up, most of the time you're going to use it on the left side. And a quick note, if you remember from my previous tutorial about the incompatibilities, be careful that if you're going to use Octave, be mindful, for example, on the C, take that go grand delay. Alright, so just as a wrap up of this video, one last thing. If you remember from my incompatibility tutorial, always be careful as you're planning ahead to do layers, so pretending that this is not pre-recorded. You go to Octave, but let's say you wanted to drop a grand delay line. You wanted to use this for this and then the grand delay for that, right? Well, based on what I taught you in the last tutorial, it's not possible. So you would have to do something else so you can do that. But as always, remember to go back, retroactive. So you can use like isolator. It is very convenient because it's only one step off. Okay? So you got that, and like I said, there's very little. There are very few people who use Octave on the right side, but I, as always, want you to be creative. Think outside the box, please, please. Okay? That is all I have for you for the octave effects. All right, so I hope you learned a lot. I hope you have now walked away with even more ideas to get more sounds, more textures, more lows, and also a greater sense of how to not make a muddy mix. Okay? You can check me out on my Discord, my Instagram, my Twitch, and those will be in the description. I'm also taking donations. You don't have to, but it really supports the struggling artists. So you see a lot of people. If you're on Facebook, you see this thing called Socially Distant Fest. So if you're on Facebook, you'll see a thing called Socially Distant Fest, and people are asking for donations, whether they're teaching, performing, or both. I really humbly ask that you consider. You don't have to again. And so, as always, I wrap up every tutorial, if I remember. Esh, Plesh, Smask, Mani, chess is a sport.